Hello, city builders. This is Hubbub. Happy New Year. It's been a while since I streamed. We finished up the fall semester at school about 2 weeks ago, and then we've been in the holidays. I've been taking care of lots of personal stuff the last couple weeks, but I have been wanting to get back in and put up a video about the current build I'm working on. And what we're seeing here on the screen is a very brief history of the last several hundred years of population. Generally speaking, I'm pretty stable in terms of how I manage population, but about 70 years ago in game, I'm not quite sure exactly what happened. I don't know if I lost track of how quickly I was building or if there was a new mod glitch that occurred in relation to one of the recent DLCs, but you can see we had this big drop in population. It was really bizarre because this short period before that, when I looked at death care and the elderly care, I had Sims with lifespans of 114 years, and I thought this can't be possible. So I'm not quite sure what exactly was happening there. All of a sudden, all those Sims started dying, and we have this crash. And then people start coming back, and so I have this recurrence of death waves, and I just let it run. I literally let the simulation run for a good 24 hours because I knew that the city was built in a way that it would be self-sustaining, and was hoping that the population would level out. So that's where we're at. We are now at a stable population. And I'm going to apologize in advance. My allergies have been kicking up. I'm going to try to remember to turn the microphone and camera off whenever I need to blow my nose and sneeze. No, I'm not going to try. I will. But I just want to apologize because that's where those sniffles are coming from. Like right there. Okay, so quick review. I haven't come up with a name for this city yet. I'm kind of thinking about Metropolis because the game auto-populated Kent family on this farming community over here. And my goal is to create a kind of idyllic, utopian, new urbanist community. But also do that along the lines of some schemes that National Geographic posted in a magazine about 2 years ago. Let's see if I can pull that up. And so National Geographic is imagining this kind of utopian vision of future cities with these very, 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 very dense urban cores interconnected by high-speed rail with industry interior from the coast, but not so far removed from the urban hubs that it's unsustainable in terms of transportation of goods and foodstuffs. So the city that I've been working on, the rules I have for myself, one of them is I'm only using high density buildings. Another rule I'm playing with is we're using the self-sufficient buildings almost exclusively. And then I'm still very much inspired by Barcelona. Yes, it's raining right now. It's going to get dark. I may turn off the night dark. The day-night cycle, so that I can do the stream well. But this is kind of a new age-ish model of a superblock using the pedestrian pathways. So we have our subway connection over here somewhere. Unless it's on this side? Nope, there it is right there. So we have our mass transit centering our development around our mass transit. I've been playing with day-night cycle and dynamic weather to try to have a more realistic economic frame for the city, but obviously when you're building, it's hard to make that workable. So residential here, amenities on this side, commercial on the exterior of this little mini district or super block. Let's see. And along with offices on the exterior. So that's the basic model I'm trying to follow. The entire urban core here is doing fairly well. We're good in terms of supply of electricity and sewage and garbage. I'm not sure I'm 100% happy with my graduation rate for university, but elementary is doing fairly well at 80% graduation, high school 70%. I don't preoccupy myself too much with those less educated Sims because there are always jobs that those Sims can fill. Happiness is kind of par for the course. Sorry, residential is 100%, commercial is low, office is a little lower than I normally have it, and industry is lower. Some of that is because you can see I have a huge demand for residential right now, and I'm going to address that in a second. We are back to kind of a normal life cycle, 83, 84 average lifespan, average health 100%, far more capacity for healthcare than we need. Death care is doing just fine. Traffic flow is ranging from 87 to 91 actually. So traffic flow is good. Now, to a certain extent, traffic flow is goosed because almost everything in here is pedestrian districts. So the only real traffic that's happening in this city is industrial and service traffic. But you could see the density of this urban core here. 135,000 packed into these few tiles here. And then pollution is in really good shape. Noise levels in really good shape. Crime rates at 1%. Unemployment's at natural unemployment. 3% is about as low as it's going to get in the real world in good times. And so what I want to focus on in this stream today is my mass transit. I have not really, kind of purposely didn't go all in on building mass transit at first because I wanted to feel comfortable with the model I was creating in terms of the urbanist landscape. So we really don't have that many passengers, and you can see it's just a really basic circular set of tracks here. One route going one way, one route going the other way. Really not maximizing our capacity. If I pull this up, it's going to say like 50%, 64% car trips saved, and 63% car trips saved. So I know I could do much better than that. Normally, I like to work with point-to-point with transfer points, but I'm going to try to build out a hub-and-spoke model today. Overall, the grand plan for this map will be to put in another urban core on this end, which will house a major university, another urban core at this location, which will be more of a touristy location with the two main beaches here. This, because it was the first urban center that I built in this city, you can see we have some producing agriculture and forestry. Look at that. So that's, I don't always expect to make that much money on agriculture and forestry, but because I was trying to build something that was more sustainable, I'm not building ore or oil industry in this city. Let's see what else. Okay, let me put up on the screen some of the models that I'm going to follow, that I'm going to try to follow. So we could close this, we could close this, we can close this. So you can see scaled transit in the urban centers and then interconnected with high-speed trains. That's the big game plan. But I want to look at some of the hub and spoke models. This is Paris. Pretty straightforward. We have routes that are cutting east-west through the city. We have routes that are moving north-south through the city. I could have sworn I saw at least one that's... So the yellow is kind of going everywhere. It's almost like a circular route here. But Paris is pretty complicated. DC is a little bit more simplistic. Simple's not necessarily bad, but you can see we've got a very, very basic hub and spoke with the green line coming through, the blue line, and that's north-south. The orange line here, east-west, the yellow line, north-south. And then we have this red line here that cuts into the city center and then goes back out north. And then this blue line that cuts in and then heads out to the east. So one of the main criticisms of hub and spoke models are the lack of efficiency in terms of the ability of people to go everywhere that they would like to relatively quickly. What happens is if you are living at Morgan Boulevard on the blue line and you want to travel to Landover here on the orange line, then you have to ride all the way into the city and then back out. And that is not the most efficient model. A point-to-point with overlapping transfer points would be a more efficient model. I've done that in the past. I still want to try to adopt this. And so I want to look at some of these other examples which offer some interesting solutions. Again, you can see Seoul here is using a pretty standard hub and spoke. This blue line is going south to north, kind of diagonally across the city. This red line, nothing to say here. The orange line is going north to south and east-west. So what? Northwest to southeast. But then there is a circular line. This green line cuts through the city at a kind of a midpoint in between the outer periphery and the dense core where all of the lines are intersecting. And what that does is it allows anybody who's trying to travel from one edge of the periphery to another point on the periphery not to have to ride all the way into the center of the city, but can ride their connecting route into that green line, take the green line over to... Now, that means they have two transfers to make, but that's more efficient than a regular hub and spoke. Tokyo does something very similar. You can see we have a north-south line on the blue line. We have this kind of fuchsia line. Actually makes a big loop. The red line here comes in from the west and then goes back north. Let's see. This kind of bluish purple line is cutting from northeast to southwest. So, and then this yellow line is cutting from southeast through to northwest. So again, we have a hub and a spoke with a really dense center of intersections, points of intersection, but then we have, where was it? the red line, this red, or is it a fuchsia color, is making a big circular loop around the city. And so that allows people, if they're trying to go from one point on the periphery to another point on the periphery, to do so pretty efficiently. Singapore does this really elegantly. They literally have a circular route around the center of the city. So we've got, but a little bit of interesting nuances here. We have this red line starts here, connecting with this green line, heads north, and then comes straight north-south, cuts through the city. Then we've got this blue line that's cutting from northwest down to southeast, but then there's a spur that comes out to the east here. This purple line is cutting this direction diagonally. I'm fairly certain, as I read the legend on this, that the dashed lines here are light rail and the solid lines here are metro. Or the dashed are lines that haven't been built yet. But in the middle of all that, we have this perfect circle
Pop soda refreshment
that runs through the network and provides interconnectivity. So someone from
don't think we're jerks.
say this location that wants to go over here can ride in here and then get back out. Now again, they have to take 2 transfers, but this is more efficient and less time consuming than having to take the train all the way in and then go back all the way out. And so my plan on this map is going to look like this. One of the mechanical issues in the game that I'm trying to circumvent with this layout is that terminal stations do not manage vehicles as well as circular routes, because the vehicles have to pull in and then they pause to unload and take on passengers, and then they head back out. And so sometimes you get a backup of trains waiting to enter a station because they're all sitting on the same track. So I am attempting to have some diagonal. So this is a southeast route that's heading through this northern side of the core. Then here's another diagonal route that's running through a little bit further south in the core. And those are running from northwest to southeast. Apologies. And then I have this green line here that's doing something very similar, but much further south. But then there's some redundancy of infrastructure so that they can cut through different sections of the city. The hub is literally right here. I'm going to use the sub-level depot with 5 different tracks on it. And then I have these interior loops, which are also serving a north-south purpose, running through the interior of the core. So it's not a perfect hub and spoke, but hopefully I've created enough interconnectivity, and my goal will be to place well more metro stations than I normally would have, in order to try to pull in more passengers. And this is going to solve a few issues in the game. If I turn on my notification indicators, we'll see that I have a huge supply problem in terms of labor. And it's commercial mainly that's not pulling in employees fast enough or efficiently or fully. Offices are doing pretty well. If I click on my offices are fine. But let's see if we can find some of these. Okay, here's one that hasn't died yet. So this commercial location is on a connector so that it can be supplied easily. It has 4 out of 12 workers. It already has 4 highly educated workers when it doesn't need any. But there are not enough uneducated or educated workers. And this is actually perhaps a problem that I have to solve differently, but I think I'm going to solve 2 problems at the same time. If I look at my population breakout, we could see that I have almost full employment with my uneducated workers, 97% employment for my educated workers. So that's part of the problem. This system is not producing enough people of lower levels of education to fill in the needed jobs. The well-educated and the highly educated have pretty decent employment rates also, so they're taking jobs that they don't necessarily, that wouldn't need because they're below their education level. Unemployment is not bad, it's at 3%. But this is part of the reason that I have this huge demand for residential, because as long as the commercial entities are communicating that they don't have enough workers, the city's going to generate a demand for higher employment, for higher residencies. So, and then the second piece here is when I look at my education screens, and this is actually quite perplexing. We can see that there are some buildings here that say they're not being served at all. These 2 towers are happy, but they're saying that they're not being served by this elementary school right here. This high capacity elementary school is only 2/3 capacity. And these buildings right next door are saying they don't have elementary school services. So I don't know exactly what's happening there. But what I'm hoping is that if I beef up my mass transit system, I'm going to solve both of these problems. Sims will only walk so far to find a job. They'll only drive across so many nodes to find a job. They'll only walk so far to go to school. They'll only drive across a node so far to go to school. And so this is why this doesn't completely make sense, because here I have these towers that are right next door to this school that say they're not being served. And you could see the street is green. Still, though, I'm wondering if I can fix the transit problem that both of these problems will reconcile. So that's 23 minutes in now. I'm going to try to get to work. And the first thing I need to do, actually, is delete, demo all of the mass transit that I have right now. We can see I'm only pulling 1,800 people. On the buses, I'm pulling 885 and 474. So none of these routes are very efficient. Look at that, good grief. I put these in at the very, very beginning of the city. That's got 90% car trips saved. Where is that one at? So, logic might suggest I should hang on to that route. But I'm going to start over from scratch. I'm going to demo everything. And build in the metro first. And then try to figure out where the gaps are and use busing where the gaps are. And so I really only need this up so that I can see. Because my approach was so thoroughly simplistic, it's going to be easy to demo all this. So I'm just following this circular route around. I hope that if I just delete the lines, that the trains will disappear with the lines. Let's see. This. I'm tempted to run the game for a little bit after I demo all this, just to see what it does to traffic flow. And some of the other things going on. Run this for a sec. Are those buses going to disappear? Or are they all going to go back to their stations, probably? Let's see. Inner city bus. Oh, so those are the inner city buses. Okay. Let's keep this running. So the city will adjust itself as we go along. Definitely do want to delete that cargo port. What's this? So for all I know, this is going to create some huge dilemmas. I try to use mixed-use development as well as possible within the constraints of the way the city allows us to zone the different types. But right here we can see that I've got this circular layout of residential with the commercial here on the inside and some offices here somewhere. No, some offices sprinkled in with the residential. So I am trying to use a mixed-use development model. Here we have the residential on these bands, and then offices right here with the commercial bands right here. So I try to zone things more intelligently. Go. So we'll see. People might make different choices, but this could have a deleterious effect on the health of the city. I know this is totally unrealistic in how you would actually do planning, because you would not demo an entire network. But this is kind of a sandbox game for me, or a sandbox build.
I'm famous chef Tony Magoni, owner of Tony Magoni's Steak.
So I'm going to pretend that that's not material.
I get my award-winning meat from, it's from one place, Meaty Bits. No matter what you need, be it a smoked pig, a goat by sunset, or a 10-foot alligator in a salty brine, Meaty Bits will get it to you fast with a smile and completely without judgment. So, if it's good enough for Tony Magoni's Steakhouse, why not be good enough for Joe Public's home house? Yeah. Get in touch with Meaty Bits and tell them Tony sent you. Meaty Bits. If it ever was alive, they can get it to you dead.
Saddle up in the mornings with Jimmy and the Stallion, the only morning show featuring DJ Jimmy Fries and a 4-year-old quarter horse named Clover.
This is Jimmy Fries coming to you from Studio 2. Whoa, whoa! Looks like someone's horsing around. That's okay. Easy, boy.
They'll play your favorite hits, give out great prizes, and laugh their way through your commute. Jimmy and the Stallion. Stable entertainment only on Cities Radio.
This is Calm the Mind Radio, your home on the airwaves for peace and tranquility. We're back for more, and we just got an intriguing message from local mystic named Kalina. She wrote, "Some look with longing to the past, while others wish to escape it. The mystic eye sees through the folds of time and beholds a perfect unity." Interesting. I wonder if Kalina could tell me... Oh, she probably wouldn't know. It'll sort itself out. It doesn't matter. No need to think about that. Besides, what's the worst that could happen? No, let's get back to calming our minds with some relaxing music. This is your host, Katie Calloway.
Oh, I've been talking and my mic was off. Okay, so we have all that demo done. It doesn't look like at this point we can tell whether the city's being adversely affected. We're gonna get right to work though on laying out track. I'm gonna start with the innermost loop. Can't see that. Orange loop. So let's see, where do I have this track laid? This, actually, before I do that, I want to put the hub in. Now, the dilemma I have is whether I really want to use that. Where is it? Is it here? See, one of the things I don't like about this is it's just huge. I'm going to have to destroy all of this wonderful landscaping and not commercial tourist attractions right here. And I'm wondering if there's a better way, because if I were to use, so this has 5 tracks. my goal. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, I don't need 5. 5 tracks would be nice because the long range goal here is we'll have the major airport out here. The passenger train will deliver, actually the airport's going to be out here. Passenger trains will come off map and deliver tourists to the airport, who will then distribute to the urban cores via over-the-ground metro. And then within the urban cores, they'll travel via underground metros. So this is not necessarily a bad option because it's got the 5 tracks I need. But 1, it's just huge. 2, I honestly just don't like the aesthetics. If I drop this, I really just, I mean, it's this big hole in the ground, and I don't like it. It's just ugly. I don't know how you dress around that. You can put landscape around the outside of it, but it's still, you're just stuck with this big gaping emptiness. You could use the Bob mod if you wanted to replace some of the vegetation to create more color, but no offense to the creator, this is not my style. Now, what I could do is just leave this right here where it is. And this is going to end up being converted to over-the-ground metro track. And there's an over-the-ground station that can fit right here. It's all pedestrian plaza in here, so I don't have to worry about parking. But then that opens me up to using some of these news stations. I think one of these. Okay. So this is the parallel underground metro station that's been created by Paradox. And this one is an intersection point. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I put in one of these at a north-south orientation like this, and another one, they might not work that way. I might have to find a different way to do that. Or if I put it on the outside of the circle, I don't know if I can make that. I have to figure out how to make this work. I could put a pedestrian path through this to make this work differently. But there's my 4 rails. And there's sufficient pedestrian infrastructure here in this oval about for people to move from one station to the next. So what I'm really gonna have to do is bite the bullet and move some of these around in order to make it possible to place those 2 metro stations. Let's see now real quick. I'm just curious. 88% traffic flow. Unemployment still at 3%. Crime rate still at 1%. Doesn't look like our demand for commercial or residential has changed much at all. So that means that moving 2,000 people a week through mass transit was having a very negligible effect on anything in the city. All right, and so let's see. If I do this, don't know if I can get this on an angle here. No, I don't want it on an angle anyways. If I'm gonna wreck that path. It keeps flirting with this section right here. This might be just perfect. Because that's not a perfect north-south orientation, but...
Hi, this is your host, Katie Calloway, and it's time for us to read another letter from our listeners. This one is
I don't know if I want to mess around with my landscaping here or just leave it as is.
It's too small for me, but it's perfect for my dolly. Well, that sounds nice. I'm not sure if...
Do is...
I guess you must be quite big, and your dolly is regular sized. Or
Bring these
maybe Dolly
out.
is your daughter or something. I don't know. We're really glad that you appreciate it. You and whoever or whatever your dolly is. It's good they're enclosed. And thank you for listening to Calm the Mind Radio.
And my mic is off again. Here I am talking and the mic is off. Okay, so we lost some of that vegetation. This looks kind of weird, but not terribly weird. We're going to move some of these trees around and bushes. So it's still going to look like it's kind of organically normal and natural. Gonna lose some of these. Ooh, how did it let me do that? Oh, because I'm copying and pasting, that's how. Slide these over. Some of these are just going to have to disappear. Now I think it's just a bit too crowded. Let's see. Okay, that's not bad. Let's turn this off so we can see it without the... Yeah, that's fine. And those are all within close walking distance. I keep most of the integrity of this whole structure. Looks like I lost something in here, or did I leave that open on purpose? What's going on here? That doesn't look right. Must have gotten distracted by something when I was doing this, because I would not have partially lined these paths. Maybe when I was adjusting them, I accidentally deleted these bushes and didn't notice. There. All right, that's better. Okay, so this keeps its integrity. We have our two stations, or our two lines of tracks. Now I'm going to start putting in rail. Do I still have a bus line running? That's funny. This is going to be problematic. I may not be able to do this the way I was thinking. Because I can't bring track. I don't think I can bring track out. Nope. Unless I don't. Let's see. Can we go down? We can go down. Is that a? That's a steep grade. Negative 30. I may have to rethink this. I don't know if that makes any sense over here. Yuck, 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 yuck. It might make sense right here. Nope. I don't think it does. Well, maybe I have to use the unpleasant station that I don't like. I'm going to start by just laying track for the 2 interior loops. Oh, so we have to delete this then. For the moment. And then we'll build around it. We'll have to figure out how to build around it. Negative 16. Negative 15.
The
Okay,
wait is
so...
over. It's finally here. Friday night chili bowling at Andy's Bowling Alley. Every Friday night, anyone who buys at least 2 games of bowling gets a free bowl of chili. So don't wait. Book a lane now. Due to recent incidents, the chili will only be distributed at the end of your visit. That way you can enjoy it wherever you want. In a park, at home, or on a construction site. In the meantime, you'll have all the fun that bowling can provide. So come on back and be reminded that you're not actually that good at bowling. Andy's Bowling Alley.
It's Super Salmon Days down at Fish Brothers. For a limited time, bring in any fish and get a chilled salmon entree free. You heard right. Bring in any fish and get a free chilled salmon entree. And I mean any fish. Got a swordfish lying around? Bring it in. Got a goldfish you're sick of feeding? Bring it in. Got a fish that's been sitting in the sun for a few days? Bring it in. We'll throw it in with the rest of them. What we do with the fish is nobody's business but ours. Just enjoy your salmon, $8.99 with our famous stew. So, welcome on into Fish Brothers Seafood Themed Restaurant, where everything's a great catch. Except the shrimp.
We're having another relaxing day here at Calm the Mind Radio. We'll be returning to the music in a moment, but first, let's take this opportunity to slow down and reflect on the things that have happened in the past. The good things. Just the good things. Okay, that's enough. We only focus on the positive here at Calm the Mind Radio. So let's get back to the music now.
Okay, so that's one heck of a slope. We're going to fix that right now. Now, let's make sure we haven't fouled up our terrain. Okay, that's good. And my goal is to curve this around over here, but to do it in such a way that I can place at least one, maybe 2 stops along this street right here. And this is my interior line, so we're going to come from this. So let's take one of these Jakarta stations then. And put it, I guess right here would be perfect then. Or right there would be better. I want to put in as many stations as I can without breaking my budget. And also doing it in a way that doesn't
Calm the Mind Radio.
affect
Ever feel like you're not really that there's something
the flow of vehicles.
on multiple occasions that
So
we here
this is all new right now for me.
don't worry ourselves or our listeners.
I may
with thoughts like
ultimately end up overdoing it, but I think this is a perfectly sensible location right next to the food
quiet our
court.
minds and stay focused on the positive. Don't touch
And
that
those
dial.
might be too close together. Those are definitely too close together. Now, if I put it here, then it's not going to be able to turn. Can I? This might be... I think this might work. Gonna wreck some residential housing here. It's a better angle if I put it here on this side of the street. Is that... That's a nice residential building. Let's see. I could also put it right on the collector. Now, what is that? Who cares? Put it right here. Now I'm going to do the same thing here that I did on the other side. We're going to grab these nodes and move it. Whoop. For some reason I can't get the node in there. Okay, let's do this differently. There we go. Now, line these up, and then we're going to add the station. And slope. So the nodes have equal separation. We've got a nice even grade from underneath the stream up to the station. I found these Jakarta MRT station entrances on the workshop, and they're really awesome because they're only 1x2 cells, and so they don't take much space at all on the map. Now, my timer just went off, so I'm going to pause the stream briefly, take a break, and then come back and keep this project going.